Hello friends, this is Kuntal Chakraborty and today we are going to discuss another important topic, that is carbon farming, and it is true for our miscellaneous examination. Okay. Look, I have divided this entire topic into 5 parts. Okay, the first part includes the advantage and the benefits of this topic. I mean carbon farming, then the techniques, then comes challenges or to carbon farming, I mean challenges. After that the strategies. So there are basically, you can say, 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. Okay, and in the beginning I have placed the definition of it. Okay, so you can see that this is going to be a 4 or 5 page notes, most probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 page note, and I think this is sufficient for your upcoming miscellaneous examination. If you can just retain 50% of it, I think that will work. Okay, that is sufficient for you. You will be having lot of fodder points in your actual final examination if you just can only retain the 50% of it. Okay, so now let's begin without much talk, much delay. So first I am going to say you that what is carbon farming, the basic definition, and one thing I must say in the beginning that I am not going to extend it too much far because it will make you bored in that case. Okay, so I am not going to do that. So what is carbon farming? Look, carbon farming, the basic definition of carbon farming is, I'm assuming that you all know what global warming is and what greenhouse gases are, how they cause the global warming, and what are the impacts of global warming. These things are actually, or I mean, I'm assuming it actually, these things are already known to you. Okay, well, you all are well familiar with these things. Okay, so with the basis on that assumption, I'm going to read to you. Okay, so the first thing is that what is the definition of carbon farming? Look, the basic definition says the carbon farming can be defined as a method of farming in which the atmospheric carbons are captivated in soil and plants. Okay, so basic objective of carbon farming is to captivate the carbon which is already moving on in the atmosphere. Now we have to captivate it from that atmosphere, to in the soil and plants. Okay, how this process is basically called carbon sequestration. It happens because trees actually have a specific you all know that is called photosynthesis. They have this property, they have this kind of ability to make their own foods. They can go through photosynthesis or use photosynthesis. In this process they use this CO2, okay, atmospheric CO2, okay, and this CO2 is being used, captivated into that glucose. This is the main food of trees. Okay, and we take the same glucose from trees as well. So this is the basic science behind it. I'm not going into that because I believe you all know that. Okay, now this CO2, now one question may come in your mind, why CO2 only? Because there are a lot of other greenhouse gases which cause this global warming. Okay, look, global warming is caused by greenhouse gases because greenhouse gases has a specific kind of ability that they can trap, okay, the outgoing infrared radiation after debounding. Okay, after debounding, when the infrared radiation goes out into the it is called outer atmosphere. Okay, so at that time it can trap those IR radiation, infrared radiation, because the wavelength of the those IR radiations increases after being rebounded, after being dropped, not dropped, after, it is called there is a specific scientific term, actually I cannot recall that term right now. So after, when actually it is going outside the atmosphere, that time is wavelength increases, and that increased wavelength, I mean the infrared radiation with that increased wavelength is trapped by those greenhouse gases, because it has some problem, not problem in this, basically it's not a problem, it is problem from our point of view. It is called there's a specific term in chemistry. It's called dipole moment. It has some dipole moment. It's a kind of dysfunction, you can say, from our point of view in the chemical structure, and because of that dipole moment, they have the ability to trap this infrared radiation. Okay, long wavelength infrared radiation. So this is the basic science. Now our job is to point out, or you have to find out those gases which can be trapped, which can be reduced, okay, by plants. Now you can see at a lot of greenhouse gases we have: CO2, CH4, NO, H2O, H2O vapor mainly, O3, HFCs. HFCs means hydrofluorocarbons, there's SF6, sulfur hexafluoride, etc. But the problem is that we cannot control all of them. Okay, we can control CO2 because we have plants, and plants have a specific method to make their own glucose, that is photosynthesis. So this is the basic thing, or you can say the basic catch. Okay, so now if we can use this photosynthesis for our favor, it will be very easy for us to trap those CO2 in soil and plants. Okay, so this is the method, and this method, or this trapping you can say, or this confining, this kind of job to confine these CO2 from atmosphere is called sequestration, carbon sequestration. Okay, there are a lot of carbon sequestrators in our world, like we have seas. Okay, we have a great expanse of green vegetations. Okay, so these are some areas where carbon can be sequestered very well. Okay, so they are called carbon sequestration, and it is actually term used in your environment science. Okay, mainly main thing is that they can trap the carbon. This is the main thing. Okay, in your common language, in our easy language, the carbon trapping, or you can carbon confinement, or you can say carbon captivated. Okay, or captivating, like that. So this much, if you know at least this much, this is, I think, sufficient for our purpose. Okay, now we are going to understand the advantages of this carbon farming. Look, there are 4 advantages, multiple advantages most probably, but I have written only 4. I have collected these 4. I have written in my own words. Look, climate change or mitigation is the first thing. Climate change means mitigation, means climate change mitigation. We know that climate change is happening because of that those greenhouse gases, global warming, etc. Now that's those climate change could be reduced, or could be mitigated, could be offset by this carbon farming, because through this carbon farming we will be able to sequestrate those carbons from atmosphere into our plants and soil. So this is the main objective. You can read it. We know the more is the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, the higher is the chances of global warming, and the higher is the rate of climate change. It is normal. Okay, hence by means of carbon sequestration into soil and plants, the reduction of percentage of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, and consequently climate change mitigation is possible. Okay, so objective is to reduce the CO2 from atmosphere and to trap it into our plants and soils. Okay, the more you do that, the better chances of is called climate change mitigation, the better chances of reduction of those CO2. Okay, and the better chances of reduction of those CO2 means the lesser chances of global warming, the lesser chances of heat generation, etc. You can understand it, because the lesser amount of infrared radiation will be trapped in the those CO2 or in those greenhouse gases. Our final objective is to reduce the amount of greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. So this is what it is. Now, soil health enhancement. Soil health enhancement means there are 4 components which enhance your soil health. Okay, or you can say the indicators, like water retention capacity. If you can increase water retention capacity of soil, diminishes the erosion of soil. If you can increase the nutritional value of soil, and which is called the yielding capacity, that means the productivity of soil. If you can do these 4 things, okay, with the soil, that means the soil is very good. Actually, these are the symbols, indication that your soil is doing very well, and it is perfectly well for producing more crops. Okay, so this is the indications, these are the indications. Now this carbon farming actually enhances all these 4 aspects of soils. Okay, I mean all these 4 indicators of soil. So I have written here, you can see carbon content is an essential component of soil. Carbon being trapped in the soil increases its water retention capacity, diminishes soil erosion, and positively affects its nutritional value and yielding capacity. So I have written all these things here, you can read it. Okay, now I have to go to the next page. Wait. So the next point is biodiversity enrichment. What is biodiversity enrichment? 1 minute. So what is biodiversity enrichment? Look, let me first read this point what I have written. When a landscape is enriched with carbon by carbon sequestration, the soil of the region gets a good enough quantity of humus content to support a robust biodiversity. As a result, that zone attracts lots of beneficial insects and pollinators to sustain a self-sufficient biodiversity, and that area no longer needs application of artificial pesticides too. So basically what it means, we all know what biodiversity is, so I need not to explain those things. Biodiversity basically means that a area is having lot of or you can say diversified plants, and due to those diversified plants it will attract definitely lots of insects, lot of other animals. Okay, so it will grow like a self-sufficient biomes. Okay, self-sufficient biomes because of that diversity. Okay, so the more is the biodiversity, the better is its chances of sustenance. Okay, so this is the basic you can say equation, the basic science behind it. Okay, so when a landscape is enriched with carbon by carbon sequestration, now when you go for carbon sequestration, when a landscape means a great expanse of land. Okay, so when a landscape is having lot of carbon in its soil, actually now it actually becomes able to support that a good enough biodiversity in that area. And what happens now, after that establishment of good enough biodiversity, it actually gives the other animals around those around that biodiversity or around that landscape good chances to live, actually. Okay, so this is the basic science. Now when it happens, it attracts, I mean that place attracts a lot of pollinators. Pollinators means the animals or butterflies, moths, etc. Those animals which help pollination the kind of thing which I'm not getting the scientific terms etc right now, but pollinators means they help pollination kind of thing. Okay, pollination means in Bengali it's called nisek. I don't right now I'm not being able to recall those definitions of pollination. Okay, basically you can say it's a process of reproduction for plants. Okay, pollination. So when the pollen grain from male flowers is brought to the female flowers. Okay, so that the gametosynthesis process gets initiated. So this is called the pollination. Okay, now what happens now, the insects, and there are a lot of other beneficial insects like worms and many other insects we have. I'm not cannot recall the names of those insects right now because I am not in touch with science for last 2, 3, 4 years most probably. So this is the most important problem here for me when a topic of science comes. Okay, to explain them is becomes sometimes difficult for me. Now the problem is that those pollinators, those beneficial insects actually gathers in those areas, and it helps the reproduction of the entire biomass, you can say. In this way that biodiversity, I mean that area and the biodiversity of that area gets enriched. So this is the basically science, the basic science behind it. And because of that pollinators, because of those positive insects or beneficial insects, we will not need to apply pesticides or artificial pesticides, etc. Okay, so this is another you can say the benefit of this carbon farming. Okay, so let's go to the next point. Next point says that carbon credit market. What is carbon credit market? Let me first read it. Since the farmers reduces the atmospheric carbon by this carbon farming, they should be introduced to carbon credit market to tap this market for their contribution, because through this method of credit, method of cultivation, they offset the excess carbon emissions caused by industry. So what happens? Look, format. Okay, what happens now when actually through various actually what is called cooperation. Okay, in various environmental cooperation, or you can say negotiation, it has been decided that certain countries or certain industry would be assigned a certain amount of carbon dioxide for emission. Okay, so this is the rule right now. Now if I am assigned with 100 tons of CO2 for emission, okay, now if I am allowed to emit 100 tons of CO2, okay, now if I exceed that limit, now if I exceed and and the emission of my industry becomes 120 tons. That means I am exceeding it. I am now excessed this limit by 20 tons. Okay, so I have crossed by 20 tons. Okay, so now I have to compensate it. I have to give some fine for that. Now I'll find a person who is not emitting that much, or who is not emitting the amount which has been assigned to him. Suppose some person is also allowed to emit 100 tons, but now he is emitting only 80 tons. That means he is his industry is short or by 20 tons. Okay, so since he is short by 20 tons, or his industry is not fulfilling what he has been assigned, therefore what we can do, we can do a trade. We can sell my carbon credit to him. That means I have to pay him some money because he is not doing, or he is not emitting much. Okay, so this is the basic logic behind this carbon credit market. Now what happens now, farmers actually, they are what the farmers are doing here, they are actually reducing that carbon dioxide from atmosphere by this carbon farming. Therefore they should be introduced, this is the logic, they should be introduced in the carbon credit market, and they should be given the some amount. Okay, because they are compensating now, they are offsetting the a detrimental effect of CO2 from atmosphere. Okay, so that's why they should be given some amount of money for this compensation. So that is what I have said in this fourth point. Okay, so let me go to the fifth one. Sorry, next topic. So now we have come to techniques. So we have to understand how many types of techniques are there to do this kind of carbon farming. The first one is forest management, second one is grassland conservation. So in this way you have four techniques. Okay, so first one is forest management. Look, forest is the largest natural carbon sequestrator, as you can understand it very well, in the world. Hence more promotion of forest of reforestation and forbidding of deforestation along with permanent land conservation are some crucial steps in this regard. We can understand it. So here I am saying that we should go for more promotion of reforestation. Reforestation is the main key here for forest management, and we have to stop deforestation, and land conservation, permanent land conservation. We should not go like we are suppose you conserve land, a great expense for for forever means in the sense now it will never come back to its previous condition. Okay, suppose this is a situation, if you go with conservation on this condition, then it is called a permanent land conservation. So you should not go for permanent land conservation, otherwise we'll lose a particular land for permanently actually. So this is the main problem. You should not go for that. Now the second one is the grassland conservation. Natural grasslands and native plants are also two important techniques. Natural and native plants do not require much artificial caring or nourishment because they are natural. They are, you can say, there is a particular term in environment science called, I cannot recall right now. So natural and native plants do not require much artificial caring or nourishment. All they need is just non-interference in the cycle of their life. So natural plants actually follow a particular life cycle. They have their own life cycle. What we need to do, we need to stop the interference with their life cycle. We should not disturb them. We should allow them. We should let them do what they want to do. So this is the basic objective of this grassland conservation, because every area has some endemic plants, right? Endemic is the right term. So endemic grasslands, endemic nature of grass, endemic nature of plants, etc. we have in a particular place, and they do whatever they want to do. They actually grow as per the condition of those areas, okay, as per the environment of the area. So we should not actually interfere with that. We should not disturb those life cycle, I mean their own life cycle. This is the basic objective, or this is the basic main key plan, okay, main subject. So now you have the third point. Third point is the conservation agriculture technique. Okay, conservation agriculture technique means this technique includes zero tillage, crop rotation, crop residue management, etc. You all know that what is conservation agriculture technique. Crop rotation means we should not go the same crop, or should not go crop in a particular area for ever, or suppose we are doing rotation like this. Oh, suppose you are doing rotation, not doing rotation, crop rotation. That means what? That means you are cropping, or you are growing crop in a particular area year after year. So you are, without giving that particular soil a chance of rejuvenation. A chance of rejuvenation means when we leave soil just to rejuvenate. Rejuvenate means it actually increases at that time when it is left for being fallow land. It actually increases its soil nutrients importance, etc. So we have to allow the soils to do those kind of things, otherwise the soil will lose all its credibility or its nutrition, etc. So that is the most important thing for the quality of the health of that soil. Okay, so that is important. Now, crop residue management. Crop residue means after harvesting, we see that a lot of things actually left over on the field. Okay, it is called crop residue. What is actually left behind after harvestation? So that is called crop residue. Crop residue management is also very important. Okay, so you can see that if they are followed, that lead to minimization of soil disruption and maximization of organic matter accumulation. This eventually help the growth of you can say plants. Okay, so this is what I have written here. You can read it from it. I have to go to the fourth point. Wait. The fourth point is rotational grazing. You all know what is grazing. Okay, when we actually allow our domestic animals, okay, to eat grasses from a particular land, it is called grazing. Okay, this process is called grazing. So we should go for rotational grazing. We should do rotational grazing because if we graze a particular, if we allow our, if we just graze in a particular area year after year without giving that area a chance to recover, it will actually damage the area. It will disrupt the nutritional setup or the structure of the soil, etc. That's why rotational grazing is very important. So this is the fourth point. So you can write these four techniques, okay, for carbon farming. Now comes the challenges to carbon farming. Okay, challenges. What are the challenges of carbon farming? Okay, so the first challenge is soil composition. Soil composition means when the soil is of poor structure and contains low organic matter, it is carbon storage and fertility goes down. So this is the thing actually. So this is the subject matter is the soil composition. Your soil composition should have a lot of carbon. Okay, these are the challenges of carbon farming. Sometimes what's happened, we want to do carbon farming but just because of the poor composition, poor soil structure, okay, poor organic matter, etc., low organic content, etc., we are not allowed to do carbon farming that soil. So this is also a challenge. Now the second challenge is geographical location. Geographical location can be understood from various aspects, like location includes like crucial factors of plant growth like elevation, which are the important which is called parameters to identify a particular geographical location. Geographical location includes a lot of things like elevation, slopes of the land, elevation of the land. I mean, what is the height of that land, where what I am talking about, the proximity to water bodies. I mean, how close it is from a particular water body. These are the important, because salinity. Okay, salinity is also important. Suppose you are very residing, or the location what you are talking about is located very close by a sea. Okay, that means the saline water intrusion is a common thing in that area. I mean, sometimes what happens, saline water comes in to the field. Okay, so this kind of things happens and it disturbs the entire farming system. Okay, farming process. So this is very important thing. That's why geographical location is very important. Now if you are talking about some point which is located at a very high altitude, that means that that altitude will influence the vegetation of that area, okay, because of the cold, or you can say the temperature, low temperature, okay, everything will get frozen during winter. So altitude, temperature, etc., the location of that area, I mean the distance from sea, okay, proximity to the water bodies, everything actually comes under this geographical location, and sometimes they actually pose a lot of challenges to this carbon farming, okay. So we have to understand this, okay. The fourth point is water scarcity and financial constraints. So what are scarcity and financial constraints, and then the last one is okay. Acha, water scarcity. What is water scarcity? 1 minute. Acha, water scarcity. Water scarcity means, look, suppose you are talking about a arid zone. You want to go do some carbon farming in a arid zone. You will not get much water, right? So this is very common thing. If you don't get very much water, how do you do that? It's not possible. Therefore, arid zones are sometimes they suffer from this water scarcity issue. So this is also a challenge. The fourth one is financial constraints. Financial constraints actually means small scale and marginal farmers face lots of problems in case of carbon farming, because carbon farming many times requires a good amount of initial cost. What is the initial cost? I mean, what is the initial cost for? That is the point. Look, suppose you want to facilitate some farmers for carbon farming, okay, you have to give them the suitable, most fitting seeds, if requires, then which is called fertilizers, okay, and other supports, okay, and that includes lot of costing says they are not very costly actually. So it has an initial cost. Now if you don't have that money, if you don't afford that money for carbon farming, then it is a challenge obviously, okay. So these are the important challenges. The fifth one is, apart from all limited policy supply by the government and inadequate community engagement are also two significant challenges to carbon farming, okay. So limited policy supply, that means your government is not encouraging you, okay, for carbon farming. If your community where you are living in is not supporting you for carbon farming, then it is also a challenge. You will not be able to do this carbon farming, okay. So for carbon farming, apart from the other discussed 4 points, this community engagement and policy, government policy, limited government policy supply is also 2 major constants, okay. You have to keep it in mind. Now strategies, what are the major strategies we can take, okay, we can adopt for carbon farming? Look, I have written 4 strategies. You can elaborate them, okay, in the examination if you want, but I have written all of them in just 1 or 2 lines. 1 minute, let me, okay. More legal framework and government supports toward it. So the first thing which is very important here is the legal framework. That means we have to make some laws, we have to make some enact some acts so that we can make this carbon farming mandatory, okay, keeping in mind the incoming, or you can say upcoming disaster, okay, which could happen because of that global warming. Okay, we have to go for this framework, okay, government legal framework established by government, and government support is also required, because if government does not allow you to do this, if it does not give you the required seeds, required fertilizer, required initial cost, etc., then it will be difficult for you for carbon farming. The second one is the direct incentives have to be provided to farmers in the form of tools, credit, etc., so that they can adopt carbon farming friendly practices. So these things are also required: tools, credits. Credits means initial bank loans basically, okay. Tools, credits are also required. So if you give those things, it will be better for the farmers to start. So farmers should be facilitated to use carbon credits and banking channels. By this they would be enabled to sell carbon credits to corporations seeking emission offsets. So I have already discussed in earlier that there are a lot of corporation industries who actually seek which is called carbon emission offset, because of they are exceeding capacity of carbon emission. Okay, so they need to be compensated, and our farmers are the best one, I think, because they are doing emitting zero and sequestrating or absorbing highest. Okay, I mean emitting zero, emission is zero, but their absorption is the highest, okay, compared to any other industry. Therefore, you should allow them to be a part of this carbon credit market, okay, and it will actually give them a lot of economic benefits. So it will also indirectly facilitate this carbon, which is called farming. Okay, so we should do that. Okay, they can be allowed. Now the fourth one is more emphasis is required to unlock soil potential in order to achieve net zero carbon goals, and we should actually take care of the health of soil and its nutritional value, so that we can produce more plants, we can grow more plants in the soil and create lot of green vegetations for that carbon sequestration. Okay, so this is the basic note. If you want, you can read it, and if you want, you can take screenshot of this note, and I can assure, if you just at least mark up or memorize 50% of it, you will get a lot of formats to add in actual examination, final examination. Okay, so thank you for listening up to now, and I'm going to end this video here. I'll definitely come with a new video in my new topic in my next video. Thank you.